Okay, so we try to learn, okay, this chapter 21, all of them, we try to finish it today. Therefore, we will have a review on Thursday, okay, over all the chapter that you have learned for exam number 2. Now, chapter 21 is about immune system. So, immune system. Okay, or sometimes it is also known as a lymphatic system. Okay, so in the previous chapters, like blood and the cardiovascular system, you have learned the blood cells, right? You have learned the red blood cell, white blood cells, the platelets. You also have learned the proteins in the blood plasma. We're going to learn that more, especially the one that really used for protecting us against the disease. Okay, therefore, mostly we will learn the same things like we learned in the blood, but we will focus especially to the components that help us fighting the infectious disease. Okay, so the immune system, we can call also this our defense mechanisms. Okay, so we have different mechanism inside our body that really help us, that's really great, helping us to be healthy. This is homeostasis. Remember, this is part of the homeostasis, how our body actually control everything, including controlling the pathogens that maybe enter into our system. Now, the different mechanism that we have can be divided into two types. It's divided into two types. The first one is called the non-specific. Okay, non-specific defense mechanism. Okay, now if you have non-specific over here, what do you think you will have on the other side? It's going to be the specific. Specific defense mechanism. Okay, now the question is, what is non-specific defense mechanism? Anybody can guess what is non-specific defense mean? It's non-specific. Well, what does that mean? It means that this defense mechanism will fight any type of pathogens. It doesn't matter. Bacteria, viruses, parasites, allergens, they fight all. They don't choose their enemy. They fight everything that enter into our body. That's what we call the non-specific defense mechanism. They fight all type of infection. The specific one, this is the one that only choose one specific pathogen, one specific disease. It's only fight specific disease. Okay? And if we have so many specific disease, it means that we will create so many specific defense mechanisms. Like for example, if there is chicken pox, then we have specific defense against chicken pox. It is polio, then we have a specific defense for the polio. That's specific mean. They only choose one type of pathogen or infection. Okay, you see the difference? Now, the non-specific is also known as innate. Okay? Innate defense mechanism. Anybody know what is innate mean? Innate. Innate means you actually have it since you were born. You born with this non-specific defense mechanism. You have this ability to protect you against all type of disease. This is innate. We have it since we were born. The specific one, it is also known as acquired. What does acquired mean? We only create this specific defense mechanism after we get the disease. When the disease, like a flu or maybe chickenpox, enter into our body, then we will create a specific defense mechanism for that chickenpox viruses. This is what we call the acquired. It will be created after there is a disease that enter into our body. Okay, so therefore this one also, because we created, most of the time we also created the memory. Okay, memory against that specific disease. Because we created memory, what happened, then most of the time we will have what we call the immunity against that specific disease. For example, if you get chickenpox in your childhood, will you get it again? No, you will not get the chickenpox again. Because what? Because that specific defense mechanism will create the memory cell against the chickenpox. So you will not the chickenpox disease for the second time, third time, fourth time. You actually free from that disease. Because what? Because you are immune to that specific disease. Okay? So that's the specific defense mechanism. Do you have questions so far? Okay, this is our defense mechanism. Now, in order to perform this defense mechanism, we actually have 3 lines of defense. Okay, 3 lines of defense. The first one is called the first line of defense. Okay. So the first line of defense, this is going to be the first defense mechanism that we use in order to protect us against the disease. Most of the time, this one is used for prevention. Okay? This is used for prevention against pathogens, against disease. And again, remember, this first line of defense is actually part of the non-specific defense mechanism. What does that mean? It means that we have it when we were born. Since we were born, we have this first line of defense. Okay? We have this with us. Now, the first line of defense can be divided into mainly 2 types. First, physical, okay, or mechanical barrier or defense. Okay. The second one is done by chemical that produced in our body. Is going to be called the chemical barrier. Okay. Now, for the physical barrier, we can see our own body. Look, your skin. We have learned about the skin. The skin is actually consists of many layers of epithelial tissue, right? Consists of the keratinocyte. It has water repellent molecule. It's called the keratin. What does our skin do? It's protect us against the disease. Most of the time, if your skin is healthy, the bacteria will not enter into your body. But if you have cut in your skin, that's mostly the place where the bacteria enter into our body. Therefore, if we have damage in the skin, we have cut in the skin, protect it as soon as possible. Okay? Use bandage or kill it with alcohol, whatever. Because what? It will protect us against the intrusion of the pathogen. So, skin structure, which is really, really great in protecting us against the entrance of the disease. Now look at our nose. Okay, if you see inside your nose, what do you see? What do you find inside your nose? Can you see your friend's nose? What do you have inside? Do you have hair in the nose? Mason, do you have hair in your nose? Yes. What does hair do? What the hair do? Why you have hair in the nose? It's actually protect us against disease. It's filter. It filter the dust, filter many bacteria. Okay, so hair structure, nasal hair structure. That's physical. That's a structure, anatomy. Right? In your nose also, sometimes you have something that's sticky. What you call the sticky thing in the nose? Mucus. What did the mucus do? If you live in the very dirty, air polluted area, usually you have a lot of mucus in your nose, and that mucus later is become very, very solid. What you call the solid mucus? That in the nose. Burger, right? What you call it, Joe? The sticky nose, the sticky mucus in your nose. Sometimes, you take it with your finger, put it under the table, right? What do you call it? Burger, right? Yeah. Burger. Some people eat it. It's a salty, actually. It's a, what is it? I'm sorry, not burger. 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 Burger? Like boo. Yeah, booger. Yeah, booger. Okay, booger. Okay, so that's a mucus. That's a structure. That's a physical. You get this one, right? So we have this. Why we have mucus? Protect us against disease. What else? In your respiratory tract, remember when we talked about tissue or cell last time, there is a special cell on your respiratory tract that can actually move the dirt and also bacteria, okay, which is a ciliated cell in the respiratory tract, in your trachea, for example. In your trachea, they have that ciliated cell. Okay, what else? What else do you think that in the form of physical or mechanical that protect us against disease? Do you cry? Sometimes you cry, right? Without you crying, you actually produce tears. You still produce tears continuously. What do the tears do? It also can take a lot of bacteria or maybe dirt from your eyes. Tears. How about sweat? The same. Sweat also actually can take some bacteria or pathogens. Sweat. Do you have something in your ear? What you call it? Sometimes you have to clean it. Earwax. That also actually protects you. Okay? So earwax. Number 7, earwax. Okay? So a lot actually. So you can list so many physical things that we have actually protect us against the entrance of the disease, the pathogen. That's first line, physical, first line of defense. Now, chemical. We continue with the chemical. Okay. Do you know that your stomach is very acidic? What? Anybody know what is the pH in the stomach? Around 2 or 3, which is really, really acidic. Why? The acidic actually can kill a lot of bacteria that maybe enter through your food, with your food, right? It's killed by the acidic. So acid in stomach. So we're talking about chemical over here, which is acid. Acid in the stomach. Also, this is just for you, okay? In the female, their vagina is actually also a little bit acidic. Why? That's protection. Okay, so acid in vagina. There is an enzyme, it's called the lysozyme, that kill many bacteria. And this lysozyme usually present in tears, sweat, saliva, does protect us. It's a chemical barrier. Still, the first line of defense. The sweat also have salt. Maybe in sweat. Okay? There is another thing like oil in the skin. That's also chemical barriers. So that's our first line of defense. It's prevent us from disease. Now, what happens if the first line over here fail? It means that the pathogen will enter into your body, right? If it is fail, then your pathogen, the disease, the infectious disease will enter into your body. Now what you do? We're gonna have the second line of defense over here. The second line of defense is also part of non-specific. So now the pathogen inside our body. Now we have the second line. We have the way try to kill them, destroy them, remove them. So when the pathogen inside your body, then your second line of defense will start to do their job. Usually, the second line of defense, when they start to do the job, you will have the signs. This is actually sign and symptom of the infection itself. This is actually during the second line of defense. What is the first signs of this infection? First, this is going to be very common. That area will be inflamed, inflammation. If you have bacteria infection in your skin, what happened with that skin area? It's swelling, right? That's actually inflammation. Okay, this inflammation have several signs. Like, for example, of course, swelling. What is the color usually on that infectious area? What's going to be the color going to be? Reddish. Why a reddish color? Because the blood will go there. Try to bring the white blood cell to kill that pathogen, right? So it's going to be redness, not redneck, okay, redness. See, redness. Why redness? The blood is going there. What is a swelling? The blood is going there. A lot of blood. It's going to be swelling, redness. Okay? And most of the times, that area become a little bit warm. You actually is warmer than other part of your body. Okay? In that inflammation area. Okay? Sometimes you also feel the pains on that place, right? That's inflammation. Okay? Sometimes you will also feel loss of functions. Sometimes you feel numbed on that area. Okay? On that infectious area. That's the first sign that our body is fighting them. The first sign of the first line of defense. Are you with me? Now what happened next? We mentioned over here, during the inflammatory response, swelling, redness, the all is actually related with the blood that coming to that place. And that blood is not only carrying the red blood cell that causing redness and swelling, but also will take or will bring a lot of white blood cell. Remember, white blood cell is the one that fight infection. Okay, so white blood cell. This is actually our, what we call it, our army or players. This is the players that actually fight infection. And we learned that. We learn when we talk about the blood tissue. And remember, we have how many type of what blood cell? Based on the abundancy. You still remember how to memorize that? Never eat banana? Daniel, you remember how to memorize the five white blood cell based on the abundancy? Never let monkey eat banana. What? Never let monkey eat banana. What is the first one? Never. Neutrophil. This is the most abundant one. About 70% is actually neutrophil. And the neutrophil fights against what? You should remember. What neutrophils do, what they fight against, what type of infection or what type of pathogens. Mason? Neutrophil fight against bacteria. Bacteria, right? They fight against bacteria. And it is going to be in your lab exam, actually. And your exam too, right? So neutrophil, fight against bacteria. What is the second one? Lymphocyte. Which is consists of B cell and T cell. And lymphocyte fights against viruses most of the time. We have learned that. Number 3, never let monkey. It's going to be monocyte. Monocyte is also known as macrophages, the big eater. What the monocyte do? What is fight against? Long-term bacteria. They're fighting against bacteria also. And then number 4, never let monkey eat. Eosinophil. This is the one that fights against parasites like worms, malaria. And the last one, the least abundant one, banana, which is basophil. And this is usually used for allergic reaction, fights allergens. So these are the 5 players inside our body. Now we go back here. It will be carried by the blood into this inflammatory area, into the damaged area. Okay, 2 of them, especially neutrophil and monocyte, have the ability to eat bacteria. Remember, they fight bacteria, right? They have the ability to eat bacteria. These 2 type of white blood cell is also known as phagocyte. Phago means eat, cyte means cell. Cell that eat bacteria. Okay? So, these 2, neutrophil and monocyte, will perform action over here during the second line of defense. Is called the phagocytosis. IS means action. So, this is action of killing or eating bacteria by what? By the phagocyte, which is neutrophil and monocyte. That's the second action that will be done during the second line of defense after this inflammation. Now, after that, what happened? The third action, will be the production of what we call the antibacterial proteins. Okay, so our body will produce the proteins. So we have the army over here inside our defense mechanism. Then we also have, I'm gonna use this one, army. We're gonna use over here weapons. These weapons is mostly proteins will be created inside our cell. So we create the weapons. We have the army, then we also create the weapons. The weapon mostly proteins. There are 2 types of weapons. The first one is called the antibodies. or immunoglobulin or Ig. And remember, we also have learned there are 5 types of Ig. Okay, if you go back to blood tissue, when we talk about blood tissue, we created 5 types of Ig. Anybody still remember? The sequence based on the most abundant one. What is the sequence? Game. Yeah, game, right? So the first one is going to be IgG, right? After that's going to be A, right? After that's going to be M. And the last one will be E. That's game, right? Before E, there is A, D. Got it? So that's the antibodies that will produce for protection. Okay, that's the first type of weapon, which is antibodies. We will produce this after we have the infection. But right now, during the non-specific defense, we don't really produce antibodies actually. This is the weapon that we use specially for the last one over there, for the specific defense. The second type of weapon or protein that we produce is called I'm gonna erase this, like antimicrobial proteins, such as EFN, which is interferon, and the complement system. Okay, so we also produce different type of protein that can also use for protection, like EFN. So over here, the antibacterial microbacterial proteins over here, the IFN. Right? Let's say what the IFN do, the interferons do. I need to erase some of them. Okay. I'm gonna use this place over here. Okay. Now, what is actually interferons? Now, let's say you have cell inside your body. Okay, you have cell. Okay. Let's say this cell get infected by a viruses, infections. Okay, this is infectious agents that enter to this cell. So it's going to be infected cell. The other one is not infected yet. We call it a healthy cell. Okay. Now, when the cell get infected, what happened? This cell actually has the ability to produce the interferon. And that interferon will be released into the healthy cell, telling the healthy cell, I get infection. Be prepared. So the healthy cell will receive that interferon and it will make a protective structure on their cell membrane. It's kind of protected a little bit against this infectious disease. That's the job of interferon. Just like in the Good Neighbor, State Farm is there. Get it? So this is a good neighbor over here. He get robbed. Somebody robbed his house. What he did? He called the neighbor. Neighbor, I just get robbed. Please lock the door. Lock the windows. Put more lock on your windows and doors. What? That's like this one. Like a good neighbor over here. So this is the EFN. I hope you remember. Okay? Just like a good neighbor is the interferon, not the State Farm. That's the interferon. Okay? So that's here, the interferon, which is the next stage of the second lines of defense. The infected cell will produce interferon to give the information to the healthy cell. Another Antibacterial protein is the complement system over here. So complement system. Now what is complement system? Let's say I'm gonna erase this. Okay. Let's say bacteria enter into your body. This is bacterial cell. It has cell wall, right? Bacteria have cell wall made of peptidoglycan. Okay. This is bacteria. Okay. So whenever bacteria enter into our body, we have the ability to produce the complement proteins. So these proteins, about 26 proteins, will attack, kind of shooting to this bacterial cell wall. It will create a hole. It's actually break the cell wall of the bacteria. What happened? When the wall of bacteria break, the water will be enter into bacteria and bacteria will be exploded. Boom, they will die. That's the function of the complement system over here. Mostly killing bacteria by digging their cells, their cell wall. That's the antibacterial protein. The next ones in the second lines of defense. So most of the time, if you have infection, what happened with your body temperature? Increase or decrease? What happened? Do you have fever? Most of the time, yes. That fever actually part our defense mechanism, which is the second lines of defense. Why fever? Fever actually can kill some bacteria that is sensitive to heat. So there are many bacteria very sensitive to heat. So our body temperature increase, maybe 99 or 100 or 101. That's actually part of our defense mechanism. It will kill some bacteria, will also increase the process of killing by the phagocyte and the process of killing by the complement system. If it is warmer, then it's going to be more active. Therefore, bacteria will be killed, most of them. That's a fever. However, if the fever is really high, for example, increase to 103, 104, it is also dangerous for your enzyme, for your body. That's the time, usually you have to take what? Tylenol, the fever reducer. Yeah, you cannot just let your fever up above 103. It is dangerous. But if it is still 101, 99, that's actually good fever for us. Okay, can you follow this? It's part of our defense mechanism. Okay, so these are the second lines of defense. Okay, there are several processes like inflammatory responses, phagocytosis, antibacterial proteins, and fever is part of our second line of defense. Now, what happens if the second line of defense also fail? We still have one more. We still have one more line, which is the third line of defense over here. Okay? The fourth line of defense is actually part of the specific defense mechanism. If the first and the second part of the non-specific, the third line is going to be part of the specific defense mechanism. Because it is very specific, then it is done by specific cell, specific system. Okay? The one that performs this third line of system is called lymphatic system. And then from the name, you will able to guess that the main players will be lymphocyte. Lymphocyte, which is B cell and the T cell. Okay, so it is done by this specific cell, lymphocyte, and also with the antibodies. Again, this is going to be all the IG. Okay, IgG, IgA, IgM, IgD, IgE. It is going to be part of our last defense mechanism. Now, what happens if the last defense mechanism also fail? You die. You don't have 4 choices. You only have 3 defense mechanism. Okay, 3 lines of defense. Okay, do you have questions so far? If not, then we're gonna talk this, the line of defense over here, including how actually our body stay healthy and how our body actually remove some of the pathogens. Okay, now I'm gonna create kind of drawing. Let's say this is our body. Inside, this is outside. Okay, inside our body, of course, we have tissue with cell, so many cells. Okay, get it? Now, during healthy time, normal, healthy condition, there is no pathogen enter into our body. Our immune system is actually survey our body. There is a process, it's called the surveillance. Surveillance. Just like your neighborhood. Sometimes, you know, it is surveyed by, who's usually that survey your neighborhood to make sure it is safe? What do you have in your neighborhood? Who survey your neighborhood? Sometimes they just go around your neighborhood, you know, make sure everything is ready, everybody is okay. Who doing that job? Do you have sheriff? Right? Usually sheriff, sometimes they go to the neighborhood. Or maybe constable. Do you have constable? Right? It's actually part of the army. Okay, so the one that surveys our body is actually the T cell. Okay, so I'm gonna use different color over here. Okay, T cell. There are actually 2 types of T cell. The first one is called the T helper or TH. The second T cell is called the TC. This is cytotoxic T cell. Okay? So these 2 cells, the 2 T cell, act like a, you know, let's say that this over here, we can call it as a, let's say it's a sheriff. The one that, you know, survey the neighborhood. Let's say the T helper is the helper. Let's say we can call it a deputy sheriff. That also can control the community. This is what happened actually. In real time, our cell, our body will always survey by these 2 main cells, the sheriff and the deputy sheriff, TC and T helper. Now, this is, let's say this is our cell over here, normal cell. Our normal cell will always have the marker. When we talk about chapter 3, if you take 171, we talk about the membrane proteins. One of them is marker, marker protein. So there is a marker protein, is called the MSC number 1. There is another marker protein called the MSC number 2. Major histocompatibility complex protein 1, MHC. This is marker. Everybody have different marker cell. Now, this MSC number 1 will be recognized by the TC. So TC recognize all the people in the neighborhood. Oh, I know you, I know you, I know you, I know you. Because what? Here, the marker. The marker number 2, MSC2, is recognized by the deputy sheriff, by the T helper. He know it. I know you, I know you, I know you, right? Now, if there is nothing happen, there is no infection, for example, then the sheriff, the deputy sheriff just say hello, good night, and goodbye. Doing nothing, right? Because it's healthy. You are healthy. Our neighborhood is healthy. Now, what happened? Let's say your cell over here act differently. It's become cancer. Cancer cell. Just for information, any cell in our body actually has the possibility become cancer cell. Just for information. Therefore, cancer now is kind of growing up because what? Because the TC over here, if the TC do not do the job, the cancer will be growing. If our surveillance, the sheriff is really good sheriff, what happened? Before it is become big cancer cell, it will produce the toxin that will kill this right away. The cancer will be gone. That's actually what happened in our body. So every day, every time, the TC, T helper, always try to see what happened in the community. Again, if there is something happen, then it will be killed right away. It will be removed right away. That's the reason why we are healthy. If the sheriff is lazy, what happened? You have a lot of problems in the community, right? Maybe thief, robbery, fighting between neighbors, and etc. Well, that's our job over here. That's the job, the action that actually done by this surveillance, the T cell, the TC and T helper. Do you have questions first for this healthy condition? It's simple, right? It's logical. That's what happened. Now, look, what happened if then our cell get the infection? I'm going to change this from normal, healthy, into infection. Let's say we have infectious disease that enter into our body. Let's say this is chickenpox. Chickenpox viruses. It's entered into our body. Mostly through the skin. You know, if somebody has chickenpox, you touch them, then it can transfer to you, right? It's going to enter into your body. Now you're going to have a lot of chickenpox viruses over here. Do you follow this? Some of them, of course, will infect the cell. Infecting this cell. Will enter into the cell. Will enter into the cell. Now, whenever our cell infected by this virus, then the MSC number 1 over here will create something that will be recognized by the TC. This something, this molecule, we call it antigens. Because it is coming from the chickenpox, this is actually antigen chickenpox because it's very specific. The antigen will be very specific for the specific infectious disease that enter into our body. Now, we have another cell over here that's actually able to eat this one. So it's going to be the macrophages or the phagocyte over here. Okay? So whenever the phagocyte eat the viruses or the infectious disease, it will also showing up the antigens over here. This is going to be antigens, which is chickenpox. Antigens. You follow this? Now what happened next? This T helper over here, whenever it receives that information, oh, I have antigen, I have disease. This T helper then will be cloned. That's the reason why acquired. We're going to make it after the infection. It's not innate. We're going to make it. So when it's received that, what happened? Then it will clone into, okay, active T helper, and this also will be clone or produce another T helper is called the memory T helper. So it's creating memory cells. And this memory cell will be very specific for the chickenpox. This is memory T helper for chickenpox only. The same thing with here. When it's received, the antigen over here was, oh, I have infection. But this one, the TC over here, unable to activate without help from the T helper. The T helper over here, the one that activates, is actually will send the protein, is called the IL, interleukin, to the TC. Whenever the TC receives that, then it will clone, okay, into active TC and into memory TC. Now you have memory cell also for the TC. Are you with me? Now look at this one. This one also will produce the interleukin for the other lymphocyte, which is the B cell. Are you with me? So a B cell have to be activated by who? T helper. The TC also have to be activated by who? T helper. Now, whenever the B cell is being activated, then it will create plasma B cell. Okay, many of them. And also, of course, the memory B cell. And this memory B cell will be very specific for the chickenpox. Okay, so if you can follow this process, now if you become a doctor, you know what happened actually with the disease. Now what happened with this plasma B cell? This plasma B cell is actually the one that will produce the antibodies. The antibodies. Okay. Mostly the first antibodies produced going to be IgG because that's going to be the most abundant one. They're going to produce IgG, and these antibodies will kill the virus outside the cell. Outside the cell. The chickenpox virus outside the cell will be killed by these antibodies. Okay, this is viruses. You follow this? And then what happened with this active? It will produce enzyme. It's called the granizyme. This granizyme will make a hole on the infected cell. Also, it will produce toxin. It's called the perforin. That will also kind of killing this infected cell, including killing the virus in it. The virus that is not killed by this process will be available outside over here, will be available for the antibodies to kill. You guys want? Now it takes about 7 to maybe 14 days in order to kill all of these viruses. That's the time when we have the disease, right? We have the illness. How long you have flu? More time, maybe 7 days. How long you have COVID-19? 7 days, 10 days, 14 days. Why you have that one? That's the time when your body fighting them. Kaboom, kaboom, kaboom. Let's say they're all gone. Boom. That. What happened with you? You are healthy. Now you don't have chickenpox. You cure from the chickenpox, right? It takes about that time. Maybe 14 days. You have chickenpox. You have fever. You have itchy skin. Yeah, and etc. Now what happened after that? When you get another chickenpox virus on the second infection over here, will you have the disease again? You have this illness, the symptom like you have on the first infection for the chickenpox? What do you think? No. Why no? Because now you have the memory cell over here. You may have memory TC, memory B cell, memory T helper that will kill these viruses right away. You will not have the symptom of the chickenpox anymore, even though the virus actually entered to your body. Because what? Because you have the ability to be immune with these memory cells. Can you follow that? That's very specific. If the one that coming here, like polio, for example, polio viruses, will you able to use this memory cell to fight these polio viruses? What do you think? You will not, because what? Because this memory is only used for the chickenpox, not for the polio. If you get the polio, then you have this symptom again. You might get the fever, the disease, the illness for the polio. And then if you cure, what happened? You're going to have the immunity for the polio disease. Are you with me for this one? No, nowadays, the medicals, doctor, they are smart. They are smart. What they do? What they do, instead of we having the real viruses, they actually injected us with the non-real viruses, or maybe weaker viruses, in order to what? To make this memory cell. We will not have the symptom of the virus. Like, for example, if the doctor injected weak chickenpox viruses, we will not have the symptom of chickenpox, but we have the ability to produce memory cell. Then we will be immune to the chickenpox. Most young guys right now, they actually they don't ever have the chickenpox on their life. But the old guy, most of the time, if you ask them, did you get chickenpox when you young? Yes, most of them, yes. But, you know, younger guys right now, they don't really have chickenpox. Do you know why? Because this injection. What do you call that process? Anybody know what is you call the process? To protect you against the disease by injecting weaker type of viruses. Vaccination. Vaccination or immunization. That's the same thing. For the flu, it has a special name. It's called the flu shot. Okay? That's actually what? That's actually creating the memory cell, creating a immunity. So you have the immunity for the certain disease without really having, you know, the disease itself, the symptom of the disease itself. Okay. Do you have question for this one? This is how our body actually protect us. Using this special cell, which is the T helper, TC, and the B cell. Now, my question is, do you know AIDS? Do you know what about AIDS? People that have AIDS. What is AIDS? What does AIDS stand for? What is AIDS? Maybe you heard, right? Of course. What is AIDS, Ethan? Huh? This is immunodeficiency. The I over here stands for immunodeficiency. Okay? So immunodeficiency means that people that have AIDS, they are deficient with their immune system. What's actually happening to them? The one that's causing AIDS is called the HIV viruses. This HIV viruses actually kill this, destroying the T helper. The main cell that will be attacked by HIV viruses is T helper. Now look at the function of T helper over here. It's a really big function, which is activate the B cell and also activate the TC. Without T helper, what happened? you will not be able to fight against any disease. You with me? That's the reason why AIDS people, they usually die not because of the HIV itself. They mostly die because what? Secondary infection. They will maybe die because of diarrhea, pneumonia, just kind of disease that sometimes is not that dangerous for normal people. It's going to be very, very, very dangerous for AIDS people. Because what? They don't have this T helper to activate this process over here. So very, very dangerous type of viruses. It will remove the immunity of that person against any type of infection. Okay. Do you have questions so far? If not, then we're gonna go to the last one. So the last learning or discussion will be what we call the disorder in immunity. So this is abnormality with our immune system. Some people or many people actually have this disorder. So this disorder can be divided into two types. Okay, the first one is called the underreaction. What does underreaction mean? It means that our immune system is not that good. It's lazy. Is performing under the normal condition. That's underreaction. Some people have this. Some people have this. What is the second one over here? If you have underreaction, then it's going to be overreaction. Your immune system is overreactive. It's actually killing your own cell. So it's going to be overreaction. Okay? So we have normal over here. Normal people will have normal immune system. But sometimes some people have underreaction. Some people have overreaction. And maybe you have friends. I have family that have overreaction. My wife have overreaction, one of them. We will see which one. Look at this. We go to the underreaction first. First, if the underreaction is actually lack of surveillance, it means that T cell lazy, we can say that one. The sheriff is really lazy. The deputy sheriff is lazy, is not surveying the body. What mostly people have, they will have cancer. So cancer mostly caused by this lack of surveillance. The laziness of the T cell is not survey our body. Second one is called the immunodeficiency. It means that our immune system have deficient, have something that is not enough. This one can be divided into primary immunodeficiency, and then secondary. Primary means this person actually unable to create T cell, B cell during their development. So they born with the condition that make them unable to fight infection. Most of them will die during the childhood with the infection. So this is born with immunodeficiency. Second immunodeficiency, secondary, is mean that it is happening after we born. We get it from something during our life. The very famous example is AIDS. Okay, so AIDS is a type of immunodeficiency, which is the T helper gone, destroyed by HIV. It's happening after we were born, right? That's secondary immunodeficiency. Now, for the overreaction, there are 4 types. Okay. The first one is called the hypersensitivity type 1. Okay. The second one is going to be called hypersensitivity type 2. Okay. The overreaction number 3 going to be type 3. Okay. Number 4 will be type 4. That's the name. Are you with me? Now, what happened with this different hypersensitivity or overreactive type? 1, 2, 3, it is caused by overreactive IG. The immunoglobulins, the antibody is really means. They attacking our own self. They attacking our own neighbors, our own self. So that's the IG or antibodies over here. Okay. Number 4 over here. This is caused by the overreactive TC, the white blood cell. The cytotoxic TC is really means. What? Overreactive. Okay. Now, for number 1, hypersensitivity number 1 is called also known as allergy. Okay. My wife has this allergy. Okay. So many people actually have allergy. Pollen allergy, seasonal allergy, bee sting allergy, and many type of allergy. What happened with this one? This one actually, their IgE. The IgE is really reactive. They try to actually destroy the allergens, which is most of them is not dangerous. Pollen is not dangerous, which is not pathogen. But IgE try to remove it, try to destroy it, and causing us to produce what we call the allergic reaction. Your eyes wet, your nose, your headache, and etc. What? Anybody have allergy over here? No? That's good. If you have it, it means that your IgE is actually overreactive. If you're normal, that's good. Type 2. Type 2 is the IgM. That is overreactive. We did this in our lab last time when we do the blood typing. Okay? When someone received the red blood cell from someone else during transfusion, if it is not compatible, then your IgM will try to kill that. They destroy it, and you see it with your own eyes, right? If it is broken down, it means that the red blood cell is broken down. That's actually overreactive. Red blood cell is not pathogen, but our body try to destroy it because this is foreigner. Who is overreactive? The IgM. You get me? How about number 3? This one, the one that is overreactive, is the IgG, the most abundant one. They try to kill something that is not our enemy. Most of the time, they kill our own self. That's for the number 3 over here, hypersensitive number 3, usually causing us to have what we call the autoimmune diseases. Like rheumatoid arthritis, which is your joint cell is being killed by IgG, and then you have that problem, RA. What is lupus? Type 1 diabetes. That's the IgG that actually kill your beta cell. You right? That's number 3 over here. What else? There are so many autoimmune disease actually that happen in some people. What happened? That's overreactive, which is number or type 3 is caused by the IgG. The last one, this is the only one that is caused by the cell, which is the TC. Okay, the other 3 caused by the antibodies. This one, type 4, is actually overreactive TC. Example is in, which you go to the wood and you see this let's say, tree like this with the tree leaf, and then you kind of have in your skin. What do you call that? What is that leaf over here that can cause something in your skin? Poison ivy, right? Poison ivy is actually caused by the overreactive of the TC. The TC try to kill that or destroy the chemical that's coming from this leaf. And that's what happens. It can cause inflammations in our cell because this TC actually destroying some of our skin cell and causing that swelling. It's overreactive. Some people sometimes don't have that. Okay, some people that not really allergic, they sometimes it's okay. Bee sting, for example. Some people they get the bee sting, boom. But for some people, no problem. Okay, you get this one. Why some people have it? Because they have the condition, it's called the overreaction or hypersensitivity. I think we're done. We're done with this chapter 21. So make sure I got your assignment too today. We're going to review that on Thursday. And also this will be part of your quiz on Thursday. Okay, chapter 21.